Good morning, good morning.
Oh, and how are you, my friend?
I'm totally exhausted, Robin. I really hope I'm gonna not I'm gonna try and be sharp today as well, but I've slept far too little for quite a while, so there's so many things going on.
Oh, I can imagine. Let me tell you, last night I was watching some of the previous videos you had sent me, listening to others, trying to get, an assorted amount of information, but we have a new verb, and it's called damagarding. And on YouTube, there are all these people say, okay, guys, we're going to go damagarding now. Tell me what you see.
It is really, I find it really funny. It's somebody, I've never met him in person, but he's called Anaconda Maltlicker, and he and
Hmm.
so many other researchers are doing an amazing job to find out a lot of these details that I then try to put together and present in a way that will be easily understood by people that are not normally so involved in these areas. And he just came up with the term damagarding, so it started to spread. And what he means is sort of like a forensic detective type of investigation, looking at possible clues for upcoming events.
Yeah.
So that is it. And he actually did some real damagarding because on September the 16th, he predicted a possible shooting in Las Vegas.
Yes, based on the pants that a woman was wearing.
Yeah. I mean, this might sound bizarre to people who have not been in this area before, but once you start seeing how they put these clues out there, we can get back to that afterwards. But the way they put these clues right in your face, but still hidden, one of the ways is like on T-shirt prints, on clothes, on backgrounds, and so on. And there's a video you can listen for yourself. It's called Two for Freeman, One for the Bucket. And in that video, he's talking about Dammegard and he's pointing out that exact thing. And that was 2 weeks before the Las Vegas shooting.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't even paying attention to the timeline. I just got so, I thought it was so relevant that now people have a way to focus. And it's, with your name being the verb that they're doing it. So I think that's great. Uh,
I tell you, it doesn't matter who finds out what. I mean, the main thing for me is that this madness stops. So it is. I don't know what's going on in this. I don't know what you want to call it, but like community of the truth seekers. But there's a lot of egos involved in that, and people are like, "But I found this and I found that,"
uh,
and I think, okay, but the main thing isn't the main thing that we get the truth out there. Does it really matter so much who found what? And so I just want to give credit to all the people who are making these type of videos, investigative videos and so on, because like when I started, well, that's 30 odd years ago, but after the Boston bombing, for instance, there was nothing. And then it started growing. And now when something like this goes down, it's almost in the hundreds, within hours. So it's incredible the speed of videos and exposure is being given to these type of things.
oh, I agree. The response, questioning, pointing out another fake, issue, another false flag, the same crisis actors, it is compelling because they got it. They got the patterns, and your voice has been so instrumental for others to achieve it. I have a question for you, Ole. There was mention about mango coming up, the word mango, and one of the videos even mentioned mangoes in Florida. There's one in Miami. There's one that's a separate ownership in Fort Lauderdale. And then Miami and Orlando have the same ownership. And I'm wondering, I don't know, have you heard anything more about mango?
In my experience, that is a misunderstanding and a misinterpretation of
Ah,
these signs. What I do believe that was, if it was part of the operation described, it is a product placement for the clothes shop Mango, because what we've seen lately, the last few 4, 5, 6 months, is that more and more of these big chains, like Carrefour, the big French supermarket chain, that is also in Spain and other countries. You got Lidl, a German that is in multiple different countries. You've got H&M, the Swedish company. These ones are very central. If you look at when people are being interviewed, for instance, like at the Freeman shooting, I love the way they picked the school Freeman, where that name is all the time. But when they interview witnesses that are just, they can't stop laughing almost. It's called duping delight. It's a psychological phenomena when people know that they're lying and manipulating you, that they can't stop smiling. At least some people can't. And so there's another video by this guy, Anaconda Matlecker, called Duper Delight, where he's put music to it and then just turned down the volume with this, especially one girl at the Freeman shooting it's so bad. It's so bad, this crisis acting. But when she's being interviewed in the background, she's not being interviewed at the school where it happened. They've taken her down to the gas station, and right in the center of the whole footage is Exxon. And then you have at the Barcelona attack, one of the victims was lying with a plastic bag very neatly on top of him where it says Carrefour. And then you have many photos from both in the Stockholm attack and also in the latest Parsons Green in London, where you have H&M, the clothes shop. But the thing is, you have to look at these photos where, of course there will be shops in the background and so on, but these photos I'm talking about are like super professional, like the latest one with H&M. You have like 3 different SWAT team members or policemen, heavily armed, one pointing in each direction, which is against all rules. If there's any attack on, you should sort of spread out. But here they are, like the 3 musketeers, nothing else in the image, and then right on above it, the absolute center of the image, is the logo of this shop. It's these type of photos, or like where you have a mass shooting, an alleged mass shooting, and half the image is the McDonald's logo, where a normal photographer would take 2 steps to the side so he would avoid whatever sign is there and concentrate on what has happened. So this is what is called product placement. You will see it in all types of movies as well. But I would suggest that this is how they partly finance these operations as well.
Yeah.
And then of course,
oh my God.
and then of course
Word
you have
from our sponsor, right?
Then of course you have Toyota always there when ISIS, this alleged boogeyman, is on camera, or any photo where there's a vehicle where ISIS is there, there will be a Toyota. And I just found out that this is actually partly Saudi owned, so that starts to make sense more than if it had been from Japan.
Yeah.
But we are in bizarre times, really, and it's very strange to see how looking for truth has become sort of the new terror threat, like where individuals like myself are being looked upon or treated upon as a threat, to national security and so on, and where YouTube and Google are, especially YouTube, are hitting so hard on anyone who starts putting information out there that has any kind of real value. Like many of these truth seekers have had their YouTube channels just terminated, boom. And so we're trying to find new ways all the time, so for instance, Malt Liquor or Smoke and Mirrors and PK, many of these truth seekers, how I see the world, they have had to start new channels, like Malt Liquor. I think he's starting his 8th channel now, because it's just strike. They get strikes and boom, they go down. And it's for nothing. Even videos that are not even public, that are just uploaded in the account, but labeled private. If you have one of these, you can get shut down as well. What is that?
Crazy. Yeah, the censorship is rampant. I mean, just day to day, I see things disappear in Facebook. Post something, it's there, except it's not there. And then sometimes it appears later. I find sometimes after talking about things on the air that my links disappeared. Then I find them later, but they weren't gone. I mean, they weren't there earlier, so I don't know.
I say, welcome to my world. That happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I've even had, my website, since I'm a one-man band, I have donation buttons and newsletters and these types of things. Somebody has been in there and messed around with the coding so that the buttons don't work. And then they partly work. I don't know how it's done. It's like there's some kind of filter on so that only a few of the clicks go through. I don't know. I don't understand it because since, for instance, July, it has drastically gone down, book sales or donations and the sign-ups, these type of things. Not only for me, but for SGT Report and other big channels where people have cancelled their subscriptions and so on. But it turns out that they have not. But the subscriptions have been cancelled and the sign-ups have been shut down. For without anyone doing it, so we're talking about somebody's in there messing with us big time because they fear the truth. That is the truth.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That the idea that we're uniting, that there are more people waking up and starting to question right off the bat, I think that has them very concerned. Do you think that's why they're ramping things up, making everything bigger and gorier and more fearful?
In my opinion, totally. I mean, that is my impression that because so many, it's like it's not just one or two per day, but I think the difference in people understanding and the way it's like the fog is lifting and more people are starting to see clearly that, oh my God, how could I not see this before? But it's sort of happening on such a big scale that now that they need to ramp up the game as well, at least the way they see it.
Sure. And when you talk to people, it's really hard for them to, wrap their minds around these situations. Why? Why would they do it? And I think the insanity of the political polarization, deterioration, I don't even know what's the appropriate word, parody, what it's become here in the States. People are looking at that and they're thinking, well, if this is so screwed up, maybe they're right about everything else as well.
But this is part of the design. The design is for you to feel helpless, to become a catatonic veggie that are just saying, it's just too much. I can't get involved. I can't. There's no way I can make a change anyway. So I might as well just eat another hamburger and change the channel because it's just too much to deal with. And that's the design. That is also why they ramp up the speed so that I mean, Charlottesville was just a few down the road, and people have already forgot about it, and because now there's a new big one, and then before that there was another one, and sometimes there's even like multiple on the same day. And even for me, which is the reason why I'm exhausted, is because it's just too much, and that is part of the design. They want us to just give up.
Yes, definitely. And cognitive dissonance ensues, and that's why we have all these people walking away, tuning out, and, wanting no part of it because, I mean, it becomes so insulting after a while when you see the ridiculous claims that they make. And it boggles the mind how they've kept this whole Russian thing circulating. I think now they're saying that they have proof that there was some kind of a Russian ad on Facebook. I mean, really, does that make a difference? What do you think about all the Russian bashing? Yeah. I mean,
We're being played. That's the thing. They're playing with our minds in all different direction, and it's divide and conquer, confusion, diversion, all these different types of methods they're trying to do, and but the thing is, like when you just slow down a little bit, like I normally say, when something happens, take a step back, a deep breath, calm down, go for a walk, and then when you're more balanced, have a look again and see what is actually being presented to me and who benefits, cui bono, who benefits from me believing this. Is it true? Is it not? Whatever the question is, who benefits from me believing it? And that will lead you in a direction. And at this point, it's like, for instance, I have to say, if anyone are interested in these areas, please go to my website, lightonconspiracies.com, or at the openmindconference.com, openmindconference.com, where I recently did a presentation in Denmark, where I go through the whole layout. I just start with showing how they do it. Da, 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 boom, okay, fine. This is how they can carry it out right in our face. A broad daylight, not a problem whatsoever. That's how they do it. Now here are the ingredients of how it is done. And I did a 2-hour presentation. I got standing ovations from the whole crowd, which I was very, very happy about, because my intention is not to freak people out. My intention is to make people break the spell, get out of the fear mode, start laughing about it, because it's laughable. The quality is ridiculous now when you start looking into it. And for instance, just before I did that presentation, a day before or so, there was the so-called Parson Green bomb in London. Oh my God. So that alleged terror attack in England made soldiers appear in the streets of Copenhagen and many other NATO countries. So you look into that horrible bomb attack that was on a subway or a train in London. The station was Parson Green. So it said that 22 people got injured by this bomb, and they've even filmed the bomb, Okay, so we look at the footage, we look at the video, and what is it? It is a plastic bucket with 2 electric wires sticking out of it. There's a Lidl shopping bag. Here we come with product placement again, one of these for freezing stuff on the outside. And then there's some, I think, newspaper paper that somebody has lit, so there's a small little fire. The train wagon is totally empty. There's no sign of any explosion whatsoever. No people. It's totally empty. There's no wounded. There's no, when an explosion takes place, there's an epicenter where the explosives are, and everything else is thrown out in equal power lines to all different directions. There's not even a stain on the wall. There's nothing. So 22 people injured by that one without any signs of explosions on the side. Where did all of them sit on top of the bucket? Is that it? And then we have this woman that is being paraded in front of the media as one of the victims, dressed in a dress very similar to Jackie Kennedy's in Dallas. This pink, I don't know what the brand of that. And then she's got like a scarf around her head, like, in the old Western movies when somebody had a bad tooth. One of these she has around her head. And she is the face of terror of this victim. Or she's the victim of this alleged terror attack, the only one that has appeared. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yes.
And then you have the shoes. We've spoken about the shoes before, haven't we?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you. Are they still using the shoes, or do they move on to something else after you've nailed it?
They're still using the shoes. You have aerial footage, like drone footage of the train. The only thing that is seen there is you see the train is there, police are there, but not anywhere close to the train wagon, and the doors into the train is open, and right outside you got the 2 shoes. And then, who leaves 2 shoes like that? But they are there. And then on the outside, where you see all the police cars and fire brigade and so on, what is standing right in the middle of the street? 2 shoes. And can I just play a little clip for you here? This is
Of
from the Las
course,
Vegas thing.
of
Now,
course.
the reporter, breaking news, witness just, the shots just kept coming. You know, all of these things is more or less live. And there's this young couple being interviewed, totally without any emotion, just talking about how gruesome it was and so on. And then the reporter asked him, or she wants to say something, and listen to this one.
And Taylor, just to show people what you went through, you lost your shoe.
Yeah, I lost my shoe when someone fell down to get cover over me. I have someone's blood right here and also on my chest.
There's a lot of really.
Did you hear that?
Yes,
I
yes.
lost my shoe, and then
That's a big news peg. Yeah.
That, I mean, wouldn't you as a journalist, I mean, what would you look for? Him losing the shoe. We're talking about 59 dead and more than 500 casualties. The shoe is the story.
It's crazy. And that's the worst part, that they just put that in our faces like that. It's infuriating.
I don't know what to say. It's just like, what is going on? It becomes very obvious after a while.
Well, yeah, with a question like that, I mean, the answer, I lost my shoe. Oh, okay.
Who would even bother about the shoes? And then you have there's still photos from this horror event where you can see two people that had been at the concert, and they're sort of crossing the street, high quality images, and one of the guy is walking with his socks on, holding his boots in his hands. Who would do that? And then you got another one where there are two cowboy boots with the pattern of the U.S. flag embroidery on it, left, and a photo taken like, look what happened. Isn't it tragic? Am I repeating myself? I hope so, because it's
Yeah.
sort of like. But I found out they are using other stuff as well, because people say, but why would they do a stupid thing like that? If you look from their point of view, it's quite clever actually, because if you have a group that are involved in this and you don't want any paper trails, you don't want any emails, look what happened to Hillary, you don't want any way of people being able to track communication. So what do? You just have a secret language so that anyone involved will understand it and everyone else will have no clue. And what they are using, this is a theory, but this is what I believe, they're using color codes as well, where
I'm sorry, you just cut off. They're using what as well?
color codes.
Ah, okay. Thank you. That's important. We didn't want to miss that. Okay.
If you remember some years ago, there was called the Arab Spring in North Africa. It was a series of revolutions in these Arab countries where the countries got liberated. Okay, later turned out not really the case, because we had the usual suspects, CIA, Mossad were on location, and through Facebook, it was the first time that social media was part of making history in politics, sort of. Through these social media, they orchestrated these revolutions, got rid of people in power, and replaced them with their puppets. So this Arab Spring was also called the Green Spring, and the color code was green. There were green flags, there were green, everything was green, green, green.
Yes. Okay.
Then in the Ukraine, a few years later, they did a very similar thing. The color code was orange. Everything was orange, orange, orange. Orange flags, orange t-shirts, orange signs in the TV studios, orange, everything from, the padding on a microphone when you interview somebody, orange, orange, orange. So I would suggest that the color code in the US right now is deep purple. It is a very beautiful deep purple, and you will see it appear in the background on t-shirts, the background in TV studios, on signs, color codes at funerals that are connected to these operations, balloons, all of these things, deep purple. The color code for Europe, because these are coordinated operations, but still they're kept apart, it seems like, or it's maybe I'm not understanding the whole picture, because here in Europe it seems like the color code is from purple to magenta, in between these two shades, and you will see it's anything from, for instance, in Barcelona, where some of these photos after this alleged terror attack there, you have four girls coming crying, running with a magenta trainer, a shoe. Once again, the shoes are there. You had multiple shoes in Charlottesville and so on. You had the color code very strong in Charlottesville at the alleged funeral of Heather Heyer, and many, many others, where the slogans are prepared before the whole thing happens. So right after Charlottesville, you had this Marcus Martin, for instance, the hero of Charlottesville, where you see that he's the black guy that is said to have been knocked down by the car, flown over. The car landed on the pavement, but before that he pushed out his girlfriend out of the way and saved her life. Okay, so he appears right after that in TV studios, all of them wearing deep purple T-shirts, not the rock group, but that color, very purple.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then on it says Heather Heyer's last Twitter message saying something like, "If you're not outraged yet, you haven't paid notice." I mean, that is something you write and then you get killed, you know. Then if you notice, that is a perfect slogan. And here you have purple T-shirts, multiple people wearing them with that in gold. And then one more thing that you will notice also around these people that are in the center of these, like Marcus Martin and so on, they have a criminal record, and they've been sentenced to long prison sentences that have suddenly disappeared. So I think that we are looking at not only normal crisis actors, but also people that are sort of, somebody has come to them and said, "Listen, you look good, good body, you look like somebody that could be a hero type. What do you say? We cut you a deal, you get off the hook, you become the hero, we pay you well, and you shut up. And you got yourself another actor."
There was a Sylvester Stallone movie like that. I don't remember the name of it, where they were putting criminals into special missions.
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure I'm going to look for it. But this, I believe, is standard operation. You get control over people, and then you hold them. It's your secret team until the day you need them, and then boom, you activate them. That's how it's done. And I tell you, another one with Charlottesville that I don't know if we've gone through that, because that is one massive, big one. Have we discussed that one?
We didn't go through Charlottesville. You were giving us a catch-up, laying out the groundwork, I believe, the last time you were on, for how people look at things, how they can identify what's going on, which was a very important review. So we didn't go blow by blow with Charlottesville, so that would be great if you want to point that out.
Okay, so what you need in a country that you want to destroy are chaos. You want chaos. So how do you create chaos? You go in and you start divide and conquer. You start making total confusion everywhere. In brackets, Donald Trump. So everybody's confused. Everybody's starting pointing blamingly at each other. Black, white, purple, green, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Christian, all of these things. Everybody's getting there's no steady ground. Everything is moving all the time. Then you start put some fuel on the racist thing. And then you just take a small little town like Charlottesville. And what you do is then there are special companies that you hire. There's one called crowdsondemand.com, where you can rent a crowd. Go on the website yourself. It's crowdsondemand.com. They can help you set up any scenario you want. If you want fans, screaming fans, or you want a riot, or you want a demonstration, or if you're a politician that are super failed, if you want supporters, whatever is needed, you can get yourself a crowd. So you rent a crowd. And here in Charlottesville, what they had was that they had a big crisis actor, and I would very, very strongly suggest also the usage of crowdsondemand.com, where they gathered in not Charlottesville, but Charlotte, North Carolina. But that's only like a 4 or 5 hour drive from Charlottesville. And in that, there was a whole long line of buses coming into Charlottesville, identical buses from the same company. I don't know what company, but as far as I know, they were light gray. And out of these buses came people with KKK t-shirts, Black Lives Matter t-shirts, riot gear, and so on. All of them friendly, you know. We're looking at how to stage a whole event like that. And then background action and action. Get the whole thing going. Get the whole thing going with your people, you know, because I've spoken to people in Charlottesville. This is not a racist town. It's just a quiet little town. Everybody gets along. But on that occasion, boom. Also, what sparked the whole thing was that there was this statue of Robert Lee, and there was a question, should we take it down or should we let it stay? So the citizen of Charlottesville, or the inhabitants of Charlottesville, they voted, let it stay. There's no need for us to pull it down. And
Sure.
so they wanted to, they just overruled that and wanted to pull it down. And that is what started the whole thing. So you got the ingredients there for a really good bomb. You know, you got your own actors on both extreme sides or multiple extreme sides. You control the media. And then the only thing needed is a spark. So what was that spark? That spark was that car that drove straight into the crowd and allegedly killed Heather Heyer, who just before she got killed wrote this, "If you're not outraged, yes, you haven't paid attention." So you look at where did it happen? Did it happen where this crowd was going towards this park where they were supposed to meet? No, it happened in the crossing between Water Street and 4th Street. 4th Street is where the car came down. It's a downhill, very narrow little street. And so from my perspective, I always look at it like, okay, the official story is there, so I don't have to promote that one. They tell us what they want us to believe, so that is possibly true. I'm just going to look at are there any odd details here? Are there anything that could indicate that something else went down? So what I look for are, one of the things I really look out for are public libraries, theaters, or parking houses, parking garages, because they need somewhere to prepare. They need a staging area where they can prepare everything from crisis actors with makeup to pyrotechnics, smoke bombs, and also get all of their vehicles hidden so that we, the normal people, won't see it. So here, were there a parking garage? Yes. Right on the intersection between Water Street and 4th Street, there's a massive big parking garage. And that is also where some of the footage is taken of when this impact happened. Super sharp, meaning, I mean, when people are even flying on top of the vehicles, meaning that somebody was standing up there knowing that it was going to happen, just waiting, and action, click, 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 and that's it. Otherwise, it would say boom, and you would then pull up your camera and take photos of the aftermath. No way would you be able to do a thing like that. And also,
must be the people with the chips. They've got really, fine-tuned immediate reflexes. I'm sorry.
They're very
making
fast,
a bad
very
joke.
fast. Then right across the street on the other side of Water Street is a theater, the Live Art Theater, I think it's called, in Charlottesville, which would be a perfect place for makeup, all of these type of things for crisis actors, if such people were involved. Then you also see, why did it happen there, and why were people not somewhere else closer to the park where the meeting was going to happen? But then you look at the reason for that is that the only street that goes that way in a one-way street is that. The next 4 parallel streets are all what you call a pedestrian street that are shut off. So the only place they could do a hit like that would be there. So you look at there's a drone footage where you can see that there were 3 vehicles involved. There was the Dodge Challenger, then a white, I forgot what make that was, white with a black roof, and then there was a maroon van in the front. 3 vehicles, so it was boom, boom, boom. They sort of crashed into each other. And this drone footage, the drone has no reason really to film this whole thing because it's just a tiny little intersection. Nothing is going on. But there is a drone with perfect angle, super sharp, totally steady, waiting. And then you see, boom, you see the maroon van slowly roll forward. It is in an exact angle so you cannot see the impact of the Dodge Challenger. So maybe just bad luck. Then you check the area, you will see from that drone footage that there's a lot of people in the intersection and absolute 0 on the outskirts of it. You will also see that there's it's very, very easy to shut off these streets. There's an underpass very close that can, and you can see on some of the still photos that it's closed off on the other side of the underpass. So that street is closed off. Then you got the Dodge Challenger. That one is sort of closing that area off from that direction. Then you got Water Street on one side, right outside where the photos show you the area. There's a very sharp bend, meaning that it's very easy to close off the traffic there, but without us seeing it. And then you also have very close to the intersection, you have several vehicles standing still but blocking all types of traffic. So the whole area is blocked off.
It's a big production. I mean, what you're laying out, if people probably look down on it from drone views, it's like a big set with everything in place.
It's the same, Robin, the same. It is a staged area controlled by, you always have drones or helicopters above having the full overview. Mm-hmm. And then you just close what you need are just a few minutes to pull it off, so normally they don't close off streets in a very obvious way. They normally use buses so that if it's in a city center or something like that, they just have big buses, and then the helicopter with the overview say, okay, bus 2 and 3 stop, bus 1, 4 stop as well, boom, 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 boom. And people in a busy city center, they just stop behind the bus, there's traffic, there's a queue of some reason. It's not that you can look around and see in front of the bus, but when somebody like me look at the photos, you will see, there's one bus there that is totally blocking from that direction, another one there, another one there, another one there, and another one there. And boom, if you got the overview and the control of these vehicles, you can just stop the whole thing at the same time. And what they then do, I'm not talking about Charlottesville, but generally what they do is that just before they do, at the exact same moment as they stop the buses and block the traffic, what they do, if it's in a city center, they have what appears to be police that they just start screaming and running down, banging shop windows, saying, there's a bomb, get down, he's shooting, something like that. So people freak out. This is before anything happens. People freak out, and the police tell them, run into the shops and lock the doors. So people run into the shops, lock the door, and see absolutely nothing of what's going to go down. So they empty the street like that. You will see that happen in Stockholm. It happened in Barcelona, in other places as well. Totally contrary to what a normal policeman would do. I'm in contact. I'm in a privileged situation where I'm in contact with professional police officers, ambulance drivers, doctors and so on. So I don't have to speculate. I go to the veterans and ask them, is this normal? Is this how you treat somebody with a broken neck? Is this, and so on and so on. And this police officer who's got more than 25 years on active duty, what he says is that his job, or the police job, is to come to the area and, just like John Wayne more or less, say to people there, calm down, stay low, I'll sort it out. You know, but here we see the exact opposite. They're the ones creating the absolute panic. And then when people are being interviewed, well, I saw people running and screaming, so I ran and screamed. You know, it's so easy to create a panic.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And then, like in Stockholm, you fire off shots in 4 different places around the great. If you have a bunch of sheep, you know, how do you direct them? You have dogs that bark, bark, bark. Okay, the sheep go the other way. Bark, bark. Okay, the sheep go forward. Same here. You shoot a little here, you shoot a little there. People run in that whatever direction you want them. And then afterwards, they totally deny that there was any shooting at all. It's very simple. It is very simple. Then once the streets are empty, the traffic are blocked, then you carry out your stuff. And very often, like the truck attack in Stockholm, it seems like that truck was already there, parked halfway inside the shop, but covered with what do you call them? These plastic drapes, tarps or whatever they're
called.
Drop
cloths, yeah.
So it's like, okay, background, everything on standby, background action, and action. Boom, you pull the tarp, you start filming.
Incredible.
There's a super interesting video called the Red Button, but maybe we can take that in the next hour.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
We are back. This is Event Horizons. I'm your anchor and producer, Dr. Robin Falkov. Oh my gosh, we are here with you Monday through Friday from 10 to noon Eastern Time here at Freedom's Lips. You know I love that. freedomslips.com. We're in Studio A. There's a Studio B. There's a lot going on, and I think at the last count, I believe Hawk and crew are trying to manage 80 different hosts. So I can't even begin to think what has to go into that. It's quite a consuming project, and yet it all works so well. So we're blessed. We're not censored. We can get the information out, and it's up to you to do more exploration and find what works best for the needs of your family and yourself in today's crazy world. And you are the best to assess that, and it is critically important that we just try to make that little bit of time so that we can feel more secure when making life-changing decisions that affect our health, our future, the well-being, literally, of our family. And these days with so much government interference, you know, nanny government flexing those muscles, trying to dig deeper and deeper into our lives with mandatory vaccination. They're going after a lot. And there are more and more ways to track everything we do. I mean, if there's still people out there that think you've got privacy, and that's a lovely little dream, but it disappeared a long time ago, my friends. So more and more are taking off the blinders, more and more are examining what's right in front of our eyes. And then we have a treasure like Ole Dammegard that can look at that image and see things that are there in plain sight that we never even noticed. And when they're pointed out to you, suddenly you recognize oh my God, those moments where it comes together and it's not just one little piece, because when you open that gate, it all comes flooding in. The years and years of lying and manipulation and the overt hatred that has succeeded for so long because so many people play into it with divide and conquer. Guys, if you're not going to be hating and making enemies of others around you, they lose. They're, one of their big ploys that has been so effective for years. Yeah, let's go find the scapegoat. But if you're not playing the game, well, they move on to something else, unfortunately. But we can work hard and wake up and derail even more things. As long as we are uniting, my friends, we have a chance to be making the difference with all this. Now, I want to remind you that Revolution Radio is 100% listener supported, has been for 6 years and counting. You guys step up and keep us on the air, plain and simple. What can I say? We are all volunteer, the hosts, the staff, and it is a labor of love to be able to get the information out and to know that you guys are digging deeper. I want to remind you that what we see most common these days is supporting the issues that you care about, just like those of you who are here at Revolution Radio, and you swing on by the donate buttons, you purchase the archive subscription for $5 a month for over 80 hosts. I mean, that's quite a win-win. There's a lot of ways of helping out. There are seed packages and other things, but it is this connection to what we care about that we find where people feel good about directly interacting. We've got crowdsourcing, we've got GoFundMe, we've got people that are looking for the areas that they deem important to them. We all have different values and perspectives, and that's where the support goes. Well, Ole's website is another one where it is totally listener supported. And you have to recognize, my friends, that it's a lot of work to be doing all this research, to getting the information out, to maintaining websites. There is just so much that has to come together, so we rely on our audiences. When you head over to lightonconspiracies.com, look for the ways that you can donate. Same thing at Revolution Radio, same thing with the areas that you care about. And it is just the way things are going. And I think this is a good change where more and more people are directly getting involved in saying, hey, I'm supporting Light on Conspiracies. I'm supporting Revolution Radio. These guys have amazing information. And it serves your needs. It's a win-win situation. You let others know and more come on board, or then they'll look, wait a second, let me find something of interest to me. But we all get involved and we all make it better. So can I tell you, it's right there, right there. When you connect with others, when you reach out, when you restore those bonds that have been so carefully deconstructed in our society, from what happens to little children to make all of these boundaries and divisions, it's changing. It's changing. It's changing in many different levels, and that is a good thing. So, my friend, Ole, it is great having you back with us. There is just so much information. But I had a question. What is the best way to write to you directly?
To write to me, it's info@lightonconspiracies.com. That is conspiracies in plural.com.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I had a pop-up message from Facebook, and that's...
Do you know, Robin, I recently did a conference in Denmark, and one of the other speakers was Max Egan from Australia, and he was asked if he votes, and he said, I do not support organized crime. I thought that was a very powerful statement, and also I think people should and look into it, because when we look at these things like Las Vegas and Charlottesville and other things, if they're not terrorist attacks, what are they? And here is where the enemy is within, and these are the forces we have to be aware of and transcend, I would suggest.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's an interesting conundrum for me, Ole, because for years I didn't vote because I thought it was all corrupt. It was all lies. It was useless. And then I just kept seeing things get worse and worse. And I thought, well, what are you going to do if you're not involved to see where things are going? And then I got a bit more involved, but I'm not a party person. It's the issues. And when it's just challenging because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. What outcome do we get? Can we manage to secure something that will be representative of what the people want? And it seems year by year that gets a smaller and smaller chance.
I don't have any solutions on that level. I just
Yeah.
I feel like almost like a cancer surgeon that are finding the cancer growth and finding out where the metastases are, if there are any, and so on, and then trying to expose these cancer growths, and then even though it's painful and smelly, the healing can begin, because that is my part. I don't have any bigger solutions except the more of us that listens to the heart instead of the brain that has been filled with so much crap over the years. That is it. So I don't know
Okay.
about the political parties. I don't know about political movements. I don't know how to do it really. What will be the next stage, and how to unite and get this world back in balance in these areas, because it's like if we totally get rid of the system, will it still work, or do we need a system? And if so, how can we make sure that it's not being corrupt and so on? It is something that I have to learn about along the way.
I hear you. Well, it's all a work in progress for me because it's just so challenging with so many agendas at work. We have to pay close attention, and at least what are you seeing with all of these reports that are now coming out? I mean, there's so much speculation, and they break down his name, a paddock for keeping sheep in. Then there's another storyline going that this was an arms deal gone bad. It's the government getting weapons to terrorists kind of deal, and it got taken over from Paddock and became, this event. I mean, there's all kinds of smokescreens out there.
So it's, for someone like me, it's very important not to jump to any conclusions and just start shouting out false flag, false flag. And by the way, this term false flag operation has been very misunderstood. What it means, it's from an old naval term, where in the old days where you had powerful marine nations like the UK or Holland, Spain or whatever, and they were going around just invading, crushing smaller countries. And sometimes that could cause them problems with trade agreements and so on. So somebody came up with the idea, why don't we, instead of being the bad boy, we put the enemy's flag on one of our own ships, then let our own ship attack us, and then suddenly we are the victim that were just defending ourselves, and that would then justify invasion and total destruction of whatever they want, and they would even be treated like a hero. So it's a total psyop. But many people have misunderstood now. They think that if it's a false flag, that means that nobody dies, and that is so not true. Sometimes people die and are slaughtered in horrible ways. Other times, we're looking at staged event with only crisis actors, and sometimes it's a mix of both, so it can be very confusing. But if we take Las Vegas, instead of looking at what happened, I would say what did not happen. So
Okay.
Because this is, according to Fletcher Prouty, who was Mr. X in the JFK movie, a fantastic man who used to work for the Pentagon, very involved in false flag operation, black ops and so on, then became a whistleblower. Fletcher Prouty, he's dead now, but incredible individual who has taught us so much about these things. He says one of the things to really look out for are the things that does not work the way it normally does. So if you or I take a bottle, we throw it into a shop window or something like that, within a minute or two there will be a police car and they will, be there and take care of you and whatever. But when these type of things happens, if it is a false flag, nothing works the way it should. So let's have a look here. It said that this individual, Paddock, who have no record of being violent, who has no record of being interested in guns at all, he suddenly thought, I'm having a bad day, I'm going to get me all of these super heavy automatic weapons, I'm going to get at least 10 of them inside a hotel that has just installed metal detectors, as far as I've been informed. He's managed to get all of these weapons in there, get them up on the 32nd floor. There's a lot of numerology going on here as well when you look at the numbers we're being presented with. 32 is one of they really like these numbers, like 911, 77, 666, 322, and so on. You will see these numbers keeps repeating. Anyway, so he is said to have managed to get these weapons. I don't know, you can't even carry them yourself in one go, including this ammunition, heavy stuff. So he must have gone up and down to these two rooms that he rented. So the CCTV footage from the reception, of course, you will see in there. No footage there. From the corridors, no footage there. So what happened there? The CCTV footage, and when there are a false flag operation or a black op going, are always missing. These super cameras that the normal people pay millions to get for the government to install suddenly doesn't work. And here, no footage whatsoever. Okay, so he managed to get up there. Fair enough. So it is said that he shot from these two windows, and he shot, they say now that 59 people died and more than 515 injured. And really, I really don't want to step into people's sorrow and so on. I'm just looking at this from a distance, so no disrespect, I hope.
I understand. Yes, definitely.
So when you look at, if you have a sniper, the percentage, when you look even at really good snipers, to kill somebody with a shot, 1 in 10, here we are saying like there's 59 or 60 people dead, 515 wounded. The rate of dead individuals is extremely high from the wounded. Do you see that it's more than 10% of people getting hit died from it officially? That is, you can ask any military expert and so on. It's not so easy to kill people even with weapons. You will see that the percentage of people being saved from bullet wounds and so on is very high. Even if you're hit in the head, you can survive. So that I need to put a big question mark around. Then also you have witnesses talking about everything from 1 to 7 different shooters. That is also something that should make you like, what? You listen to the sound of when they start shooting, they say, well, there was echo and coming and so on. But the echo would be constant to the shooting. But here we hear like, and at the same time, another weapon starts firing. Also, the angle from the 32nd floor going downwards is not very favorable for the way to shoot like that. And here people are talking about weapons being fired at a street level as well from different directions. Also, you have they say, yeah, but we saw the muzzle flame or whatever you call it, the flash from the window. And you can see, yes, in some of the videos, you can see the light going dup, 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 very static, exactly like if you have an automatic weapon or something like that. But also afterwards, when people that I would highly suspect, some of them are crisis actors, really not very good at it, in the background, you can see the same light flashes going on in one of the windows behind him, but no sound at all. And this is like half an hour afterwards at least. So what is that? Then you have, was there a drill? There's always a drill before these things happen. And yes, Homeland Security had a drill just at the time, the days before this happened. There was also a mandatory active shooter drill in Las Vegas where people in different casinos and so on had to go through this exercise. So there was even U.S. Army molasses trailers parked outside this casino when this whole thing happened. There are photos of them. What did these U.S. military vehicles do outside this casino? Then you have also, why are there no ricochets? If you look at the floor, it looks like concrete when you see people are running around. It looks really like a concrete. It's not grass or anything else like that. Why are there no ricochets? There should be lots. You've got hundreds of projectiles coming down. You should see sparks from these ricochets. You should hear them. You should hear screaming from people in a different way than you hear. You also you can hear at the press conference, the sheriff, he says, the actor, he refers to this shooter
Incredible.
as the actor. He also says, we see him as a lone wolf actor. Twice he's using the word actor. And also when he talks about the numbers of wounded and so on, he says, the number we are using is 515. The number we are now using is 500 and so on. What does that mean, And he keeps changing his, he's talking about people killed, and then he said, oh no, sorry, that's the wrong way of putting it. So he changes his story, and also some of these witnesses, high profile media people, which are normal in these also. Normally, when these false flag operations are carried out, you will see that the so-called eyewitnesses always, more or less, belongs to one of three groups. Either they have some kind of media connection, they have some kind of connection to film or theater, or government connections. And I haven't been able to look into this Las Vegas one so much in detail, but for instance, at the Stockholm truck attack, the alleged attack there were in total, what I've been able to find, 24 different people that appeared in media, giving interviews, being in TV studios, being so on. So what do you think out of 24 that was just randomly on that street when the truck came down, what would the chances be that they would belong to one of these three groups? What do you think a logical percentage would be?
Oh, God, slim, very slim.
Yeah, but slim. Wouldn't you say maybe like out of 24, say 4, or say a high number, 10, that they would belong to one of the, because you would have like a street salesperson, maybe a street cleaner, you would have a tourist or something like that. Wouldn't you think that would be, especially since it's a very touristic street? Out of these 24, 21, I found connections to one of these three groups. And this is something that keeps repeating.
Yeah.
It's the same.
I hear you. I have a question for you with other reports that are coming in and videos that have been pulled down from YouTube about the shooting that happened right afterwards at the Bellagio and at the MGM Grand. And, it seems like there's a blackout on any reports about that.
Well, I haven't heard of it, but
I'll get you the links.
What Chip Tatum, the CIA whistleblower who was involved in some false flags during his career, what he told me was that when these operations go down, I mean, they're very much on top of it, checking everything, controlling the the information going out through media, that is very, very important for them to be in control of what is being pumped out there. So there's often a delay from when these things happen to that the information comes out, because they need to make sure that it comes out their version. And he says that then since they're aiming at a special emotional impact, they always want the emotional impact. That's why they target these areas and so on, because it's in the emotional. When we're hit emotionally, we're totally open for protection and whatever solution is being given to us as a protection measure. So they want us emotionally hit and traumatized. So he says when these operations go down, what they do in live time is they check out, did we accomplish it? Did we? And if not, then they add another one just to hammer it in. So you will often see that a beheading of an English soldier or stabbing or something like that, gruesome, not if it's not real. Anyway, but if that happens and it didn't go down like in the Woolwich beheading in London, then within 24 hours, a very similar thing goes down. The one I'm referring to, it was in Paris, just on the other side of the canal. But with more or less the same scenario, just hitting it in, it's just bam.
To reinforce that message.
Reinforces. So this shooting here would fit it perfectly, that there was an additional one. There was also the release of O.J. Simpson on the very same day, so that there was a lot of media there already. So the attention was in that. Then there's bizarre things, when you look at the video footage. I would suggest possibly there were shooters, possibly the sound just came over the PA. I mean, people who are lying there thinking they're being shot at, they can't tell the difference. And everybody I would panic as well. So you start running away, and then in a certain area you could have a group of crisis actors prepared that suddenly, and background action, boom, where people are lying around with all of these horrible wounds and so on. But you see more or less nothing of this. And I ask you, Robin, if there are 22,000 people in the crowd, wouldn't you think that there would be maybe 22,000 pictures from this thing at least? Since
cell
more
phones.
at least 22,000. You put in Google Images, and you write down your Las Vegas shooting or attack or whatever, you will get a handful. And all of them are high-quality professional photos, most of the time AP photographers.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore, because everybody is usually holding their cameras up.
I mean, they even take photos of their hamburger, and here you are in the worst traumatic thing of a lifetime. Where are the photos?
Yeah.
Where are the photos? Where's the CCTV cameras outside the hotel? Are you telling me that there was no CCTV footage of that area when you have a crowd of 22,000? Would there not be some kind of security organizer there that would like to just have cameras when it comes to the exits and entries? Just normal crowd control for safety. Nothing. Here you have this footage from a long distance, so it's super blurry. You also have another video from the 48th floor where somebody is filming down. And the thing is, when you hear what is going on in one video, the band is playing, da, 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 the shooting starts, the band stops playing, and people are jumping throwing themselves on the floor and so on. But here, from that 48th floor, they're standing they're commenting on, why are people lying down? What's going on down there? But the band is still playing. Do you see? It's not synced. Or it could be that the people filming had the exact same music on in their apartment. That is a possibility. But otherwise, that one you have to question as well.
Yeah, you have to question everything. It's just the world we live in now. It's just.
But Robin, it's a beautiful world we live in. That's the whole thing. Because the thing is, when you look at I tell you what, I truly believe what we're looking at is like a traveling tour of horror, like a small little unit. I told you before, a small little unit that are carrying these things out, being transported in military planes from army base to army base, on Air Force base, NATO base, if it's in Europe, being transported from these because they can land there and start without anyone of us normal people seeing it, then being transported in buses on location together with crisis actors, managing directors with marketing agencies for slogans and these type of things, product placement, these things. There are controllers, there are directors, there are experts on pyrotechnics, there are military advisors, film crew, and so on. And then they're transported from, just like a rock band, exactly the same setup, more or less, but I call them the global tour of terror. And so the people that you see running around in SWAT team uniforms or police uniforms in Paris or in Ottawa or in Sydney or in Fort Lauderdale or in Las Vegas, I tell you, the chances of them being the exact same individuals, in my opinion, after 30 odd years, very, very, very big. And I've even started to be able to identify them in different locations. Just because you see a uniform does not mean that it is a real police officer. Just because you see an ambulance driver in a uniform does not mean that it's a real ambulance driver, and so on and so on. And this is also where I have these people that are professionals working with these things, and I have them look at these things just from an objective point of view. Is this a way you would park an ambulance? Is this a way you would lift someone like this? If a body had these wounds, would it look like this? And so on. And I get the same answers all the time. No, this is so bizarre. This is so weird. No, I would get my butt fired if I parked like that and just blocked the whole thing, and so on and so on. The reason for this is that the people are amateurs, the ones that are carrying it out. They don't know how the real people do it. And it's not their job. They're just there to look good on photos and be part of spreading this fear.
Yeah.
Can I tell you one more thing? I've got a friend, his name is Side Thorn, S-I-D-E Thorn, Thorn. And this man is just an ordinary guy. He's down in Texas, and he sold some property, and he was fed up with this. It's him and his partner, who's called Conspiracy Granny. And what he has said is, I have put down a reward of $100,000 in silver to anyone that can prove real deaths in, and I don't know how many of these events that he has put down. Anyone that can prove a real death in any of these one will get 100,000 in gold. And he's just added Las Vegas as well. I wouldn't be that sure yet myself, but he's put the money where his mouth is, so I've just got info as well, this we were talking about Dammegarding before. Somebody just sent me a link here saying, look at this. There's another YouTuber that referred to that video, and it's called YouTuber Perfectly Predicts Las Vegas 2 weeks before the incident. It has almost 100,000 views already. So the thing is, people are waking up to what's going on.
Yes. Yeah, more and more and more, definitely. They were on top of this from the get-go. In the discussion group for my show, people were already posting the information about false flags. They were even comparing Paddock to images of one of the crisis actors and speculating. But they're matching up the images. They're doing the work. So it's, yeah. Yes, I was so encouraged, to see the previous responses, which are diminishing, of just outright fear and terror, and everybody's changing their pictures with the colors of the country or, with whatever had happened to show their standing in support. And I mean, it looks like there's real loss of life here at this event. I can't pass judgment. I haven't examined anything. I'm not an expert in examining the images, so I could not say. But we know that they would go to any lengths to achieve their goals, and human life is cheap.
The way they see it, it's collateral damage. That's the way they talk about it. And sometimes
Yeah,
it benefits them the more people that dies. But in 9/11, that started backfiring on them because they started having problems with the families of grieving families of these victims, especially mothers that would not back down, that would not get scared off. They they would they wanted the truth about what happened to their child, even if the child was a grown-up man of 46, did not matter. So
sure.
I believe that it's the women that have been part of changing this whole thing because the people that carried these things out, they used to be able to get away with murder, literally mass murder, and nobody would react. And then this happened. They sort of stepped over the line. There were just too many victims in 9/11. And after that, that is where you come in on stage where the Boston bombing, Sandy Hook, after that is where you will see the entrance on stage of the so-called crisis actor, where they said, oh my God, we just can't handle these individuals breathing down our neck all the time. We need some space to be able to get on with our tour of terror here. So this is where I believe somebody came up with the idea we need to be able to control all parameters, all of them. And that's where this small unit came in, where it's, I think, maximum up to like 150 people involved normally. But that is including everything, including catering and so on. And that is also why when I look at these cases, I look for buildings, I mentioned it before, like libraries, theaters, or
Mm-hmm.
parking garages that will be able to cover a group like that, so you won't notice them. They need to be able to get that many people indoors and out of sight with catering facilities, bathrooms, these type of things, because it takes time. It
Yeah.
is it is a film shoot, but like a commercial, but the product they're selling is fear. And so look identical to a shoot for Fanta or whatever, your local hamburger. But here, the thing is they aim to get it out through media. This is also why the drill, when they do the drill would be like the day before or 2 days before, where they rehearse the whole thing. And I would also suggest that it's very often where these high quality images are taken, that is during the drill. So that they make sure, and also the catwalk, I call it the catwalk of terror. You always have this individual that you have no idea who is, who's walking around with a cell phone, filming downwards, holding the phone vertical so that you can't see so many details on the side, which makes it more difficult for someone like myself. And just walking around, looking, you hardly get a view of any of the victims. The victims are never there with people from the ambulance services or police. It's always other civilians that are gathered around, but it's very hard to ever get a view of any face or anything like that. And they're most of the time super blurry. I call it the catwalk of terror. So you have this footage, but otherwise than that, or I would also say that I believe that these catwalks are also done during the drill. Then when it goes live, that is when they start mixing images that are from the location right now when on live TV, but then they mix it with footage from the drill because they want to make absolute sure that they get the perfect images, the perfect quality of the sharpness of these images pumping out there. But it is also there when you start comparing these things, you will see that maybe the weather changes in these images, like the day when it happened and the day from the drill. Like maybe there was a big cloud in the sky on some photos, and then you see some other photos, and where's the cloud? It's just not there, but it's from this exact same angle and so on. Or
Gotcha. The previous days
yeah,
or the
exactly.
later days.
Or
Yeah.
the shadows are way longer, meaning that it's later during the day and so on. So they have this problem with keeping the timeline. And that is also why they now started to do it when it's dark. There are more and more of these going when it's dark.
So do you think this was something that created confusion with people thinking that it was all photoshopped? Because one picture showed one way, one another. They didn't know about the planning that took place in scouting out the areas and setting everything up. Did they have, well, they did all their preparation undercover in the buildings.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Oh, I was wondering if when people saw the images that one picture, from the same angle had clouds and the other didn't, supposedly at the same time, did they write it off as photoshopping because they weren't aware of the planning and preparation that went into place ahead of time at the location?
But Robin, it's only a geek like myself who's just buried in these things that notice these things. They don't care. I mean, as long as the masses believe it, they don't care about someone like me. The only problem they're starting to have is because, like now, for instance, this video with 100,000 views, that is starting to become a bit of a nuisance to them. So, but it's important to check out these things to find out what actually happened. And if I can just point out what is going on, I believe in Europe, the targets are not mass shootings. The target are so-called, or the actions that are needed here for them are so-called terror attacks. So all the terror attacks will occur only in NATO countries because these are NATO operations connected with the US military. So it will be in the UK, France, sometimes Spain, very rarely in Italy, Germany, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, and Turkey, sometimes in Sweden as well. And then now they've started in Finland and Poland as well. But otherwise than that, these are the only countries, and it goes around like in a circle, the same script, the same thing. Allah Akbar, I forgot my passport in the car, and so on, round and round in a circle. In the US, it's mass shootings because this is where you have this whole thing with the population being armed, and they want you to give them up. They want to disarm you so that they can so much more easily take over. So that's where it's problem, reaction, solution. The problem is the weapon. So something like this happened, the reaction from you, oh my God, something needs to be done, and then they will serve the solution. And every single time you can just wait for it on the news, they will start talking about banning guns, banning guns, banning guns, banning guns.
Oh, which they've been doing nonstop, which everybody expected.
I know, but that's the whole script. You will see. It is like this. I can tell you, next time something like this happens, it will go like this, because you need to understand that they control media more or less totally at this point, especially in the US. So it will be like this. There will be a reporter on location. The reporter will be in on it. So the reporter will ask a witness who is in on it, saying, what did you see? The witness will then say, oh, I saw it was so horrible. There was blood and dead and gore and whatever, to get you in your sofa, in your home, in a state of panic or traumatic shock. That's the whole idea. So you are like, oh my God, that's awful, awful. Something needs to be done. And then, since nowadays our concentration span is so short, they need to deliver the solution as well before you change channel or something like that. So the reporter will give you the solution, saying, my God, that means that we need to, and then ban the guns or whatever it is. When the mass shooting took place in Norway on Utøya, there was, a lot of teenagers got killed. Horrific, horrific, horrific. Then they did an interview with the chief of the secret police in Norway, and she said this would never have happened had the population been chipped. What had that to do with anything? When the Charlie Hebdo shooting happened in Paris, where the two terrorists, they say, brothers that went into an office of a magazine and killed the whole all of the people working there. what was served to us was that, oh my God, this horrible, horrible blood and their dead bodies, so that you got, and then the reporter said, well, this just shows that we need more airport security. What was that?
Yeah.
There was nothing connected with this that had to do anything with airports. These were not foreigners. So, but that's how they slip it into you, you know.
Programming, yeah.
And the thing, you can talk to anyone who's into marketing. When you're emotionally open, that's why they have all of these insurance things with granddad and a dog, and oh, it's so beautiful, oh, so sentimental. And then go for Hamilton Insurances, yeah, because they open you up first, and then they just hammer in the message right at the end. And it's the same with this.
I hear you loud and clear. I mean, everybody is hearing you loud and clear, Ole, because you have just laid it out, put it all together. You can't look at this with the same eyes anymore once you have seen how these dots are connected. It's just too blatant and too infuriating. And I know at least the one thing that most people were in agreement on, you know, in this crazy situation in this country, is that, you know, another ploy to remove guns, you know, to get rid of the Second Amendment. So many agendas, all this.
Can I just say that I'm totally, I used to love guns, but I'm totally against violence. But what I say, I so recommend you keep the guns, don't use them, but keep them.
Yeah, well, what would you be using them for? You don't ever want to use them.
No, but the whole point from their operation, the goal with their operation is for you to give it up. So don't give it up, you know.
Sure.
Because these, you can see that it's all dictators over time, or many dictators during the history has done exactly the same. Oh, depopulate the population, you know, like, oh, de-arm the population. You can now, even illegal weapons, you can now hand them in without getting any fines and so on. We're so kind. And then more and more, and then they get rid of them, get rid of them. And once they're in control, they're in control.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Everybody needs to make sure they have all different supplies, a diversity of things to be prepared, you know, and that's why I always stress communities, because you might not have something while your neighbors do, and everybody shares the information, and you know, you've got your little neighborhood covered. And you know, that's something that is amazing, because then people don't have to panic when something happens. They know we've got a plan in place.
And this is the way the world used to be, you know, where neighbors took care of each other, small villages, not big cities where you become totally anonymous. That is the way it should be, where people are open hearts for each other. You don't lock your door because your neighbors will look after the house. And, you know, like, that's the way it's supposed to be. But we have been so pushed out of balance with so many things. And a lot of it is just a psyop. It's not even real. So the way I see it is like, there's this, you can almost see it in like Disney characters. You got this evil magician or whatever. The thing is, when you look at a magician, if he's doing some fancy card trick, you know, the first time you think, oh my, that is incredible, pure magic. Then you watch it again. That is so amazing, magic. Then you watch it again. You start moving around him. You start looking from different angles. And suddenly you see that, wow, he's not doing with his right hand where you're looking. He's actually doing it with the left behind his back. The second you see how it's done, the spell is broken. He will never, ever be able to use that trick on you. And so this is what I've been trying for years to just show. It's a trick. You're being played here. I'll show you how it's done, and then the next time he tries, you won't fall for it.
Yeah, and that is the best thing that we can do to educate people so they recognize it themselves, you know, because the pressure from the mainstream fake news and everything else is so intense to try to get you not to believe what you see with your very own eyes. So Your message.
It's the Wizard of Oz. Pull
Yeah.
the curtain, and the big, powerful Wizard of Oz will turn out to be a tiny little wimpy old guy. That's what they are, most of these people. No backbone, no courage. The only power they have is this illusion of power that we are giving them, because we think, oh, but he's this or he's that. They're not really. It's like somebody like, yeah, but he's so powerful. You take a really fat lady and just put on top of him, that guy will not move. There's no muscle power at all. They have no creativity. They have nothing. So it's very easy just to shut them down or transcend it once we break the illusion of this power. There's no true power there. Their talents are being traitors, backstabbers, thieves, mass murderers, manipulators, psychopaths, sociopaths. That's their trade. That's what they're good at. And they dress fancy and they have nice cars and bodyguards. So we go, oh, he must be important because he even speaks at press conferences. I think not. I think not. And the way, after all of these years, the way I see a terrorist is in a fancy, very expensive suit, very expensive cars, very expensive bodyguards, houses, all of these things. And these are the people that stand up after these things have happened and said, oh, we must stand united in the face of terror. Well, we are facing it when looking at you. That's the thing. These people that step forward after these things, including the people in the investigation, the chief of police and the sheriffs and so on, all of them on different levels are in on it. They are part of the operation. So it's very handy afterwards when these things have happened and you find out, woof, this one, another operation. So then you just see them step out of the shadows. Okay, that's one, tick. There's another one, tick. And there's another one, tick, tick, tick. Okay, thank you very much for identifying yourself. And when you start checking these people out, you will see that they have appeared many times before in other very suspicious cases, I would suggest, and very often connected through Freemasonic networks and so on. So there are very few.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I hear you. And it's getting people to trust what they see with their own eyes when they, are finally recognizing how much manipulation goes on around them. So it's interesting. It's interesting, and I'm finding more and more people that are talking to me. I'm always out there talking to others, but people that are starting up conversations as well. That hunger for the way things used to be seems to be getting stronger and stronger, and people can remember maybe things were a lot better then in many ways, maybe some it wasn't, but we had our communities, which is the foundation.
After this assassination of JFK, that's when it really started going downhill, and that was when this power structure took over big time. Then the next big step for this group was 9/11, and the world has never been the same since the November 22nd, 1963. That's why it's so important to look into that one and find out, identify the individuals and the power structure behind that assassination, and just identify it today, because it has grown into like a monster, like an octopus. But I don't want to leave you on that note. So before I end,
you've got 2 minutes. You finish off, okay?
Okay. One thing I would like, if I can suggest, that in my newsletter that comes out every month, if you can subscribe on Light on Conspiracies, I try to go through these things step by step by step. Lots of photos where I point out the details so you can see for yourself. It's not me making anything up. I'm just pointing at it, and giving you the clue so that you can see, wow, my God, have I been taken for a ride. And with that said, if it would be possible, if I can just end with a prayer.
Please.
I'm not a religious person, because I think most of the time, or many times, religion is used like a tool to control us as well, even though it's beautiful in so many other aspects. But I am a spiritual being, and so here goes. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Victory to that light.
Amen. Thank you. Wow. That is something definitely for people to focus on. And taking away the fear, that's priceless.
What I love about this is, if you don't believe anything else, one thing you will recognize is that you are being fearful. There's something is pushing you into fear mode. Most of the time it's through this black box in front of you. The media wants you fearful. Why do they want you fearful? To control you. So the less you want to be controlled, the more you need to let go of fear. And that is a beautiful space to be in, because the more you can let go of fear, the more peaceful you become. You can handle things in your ordinary life in a lot better way. Your family will become more happy around you, and so on. So I totally recommend it. Focus on becoming fearless. There are many different ways to do it. Nice walks along the beach or in the forest, whatever. Meditation, breathing. There are loads and loads of ways. And also confronting your fears, because it's like a monster that grows on you if you do not confront it. So I think it's quite funny. I used to be shaking. Just the thought of speaking in front of people would make me sweat and shake and all these things. And now I do it as a living almost. So confront your fears and become free. And I also want to say, the one you've been waiting for to make the change is you.
Yes. Look in the mirror, guys.
That's the one.
Yeah. Well, wise words, my friend, and impressive work. What are you looking at from what you've seen with the 30 seconds left for what might come next? Or is this going to be a cliffhanger?
I say lots of beauty, wonderful things, and hopefully this will be the last one.
Yes, let's make it happen. Thank you so much, Ole. I hope everyone's heading over to the site now. The information's all in the links, and we'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning with more of Event.